easily grab our hands on. We didn't have any connection with any dealers. So that was the initiative we took. So hello, so this is going to be a video about my first time taking mushrooms, and this is just like an improvised in the moment reflection on my first psilocybin journey that happened more than 3 or 4 years ago right now. Let's just say 3.5, just to be 3.5 probably. I also want to share like my motivation behind this video. So I was just contemplating on free will and how much of life is actually really in our own hands, and we get caught up in these beliefs that there's like an outer source and a God, and just projections onto the universe, the one God, you shall say. There are many words we can use for it, that he or she will deliver us the exact things that we wish for, kind of discarding this responsibility that we actually really have. When I first woke up spiritually, the first thing I realized was, well, we are here to realize to which extent we are responsible for creating our life. Like, we are very, very responsible for creating our life. Yeah, after this contemplation, I was just like, I'm going to commit more to making like videos and share stories and hopefully inspire others. Hopefully it can help you in your own journey of putting the energies and the information, the pieces of the infinite puzzle of our creation together, accumulated into remembrance and understanding. Remember means to put the pieces, remember, back together, so the members are back. So yeah, I'm gonna start talking about this experience right now. So it happened 3.5 years ago, and I was at my friend's house, and we had initially organized this because we were all classmates. There were 4 of us, 1 Chinese, 2 Dutch, and there's me, the half Filipino and English. And I was speaking about, my ethnicity, my body. And I had never really experienced anything like that in this life. I had been quite caught up, or let's just say I went with the flow that had been surrounded me of friends abusing weed for a very long time, especially, as a skateboarder before. At the skate park, there were always people around me who were smoking joints and mixing that up with skating, but I always denied it for like my whole life until I like turned 19, and I was just like, I'm suffering too much from this internship at this car company, like I want to give it a go. Quickly escalated to like going to coffee shops every day. Anyway, I had already experienced quite some, let's just say, mystical, eye-opening experiences on marijuana, on weed, and its power. Even in like, I think it's India, ancient India, it's called like the golden plant or something. Like, it's, for my own journey, it has helped me so much to alter my frequency to an altered state of consciousness, to perceive my life, put the pieces together from perspectives that I witnessed during these higher states of consciousness, to come to an accumulative understanding of who I am and where I actually want to be heading, where I want to place my consciousness. There is a choice. We can be ruled by the unconscious, or we take the wise route, which is take conscious decisions. And to take conscious decisions, that requires strength, because you are faced with the truth of a situation when you take things consciously. However, to which extent we are willing to take that conscious decision determines how much we actually grow, if that is something that we want. So weed had helped me a lot, but at the same time it had crushed me. Any abuse of any kind of substance, even food, delivers the experience of hell within your body, because your body can't tolerate that much, and especially not consistently like that. I just want to go straight to the very experience. I won't go too much into the finer details, but These are actually truffles. Sorry, psilocybin experts, but these are truffles in the Netherlands. These are illegally found in stores, so that's what we could like easily grab our hands on. We didn't have any connection with any dealers, so that was the initiative we took. So my classmate, he purchased these from the freaking internet, and it got delivered right at the door, and we were like, yeah, it's gonna get delivered at this date, so it's gonna be this day. And I know there's such a divine coordination between in that what that happened. Anyway, it came to the door, and he was already experienced, the person who ordered it. He already did it a few times, and I'm gonna tell you about his approach to it. It's just freaking hilarious. But he just said, "You don't want to eat these like plain. You don't want to like. They have such an awful taste, and they're like so screwed up if you eat only that. Like, it made me puke before." He said all these stories, like just to like punch it in our awareness. And he said, yeah, we should definitely like get yogurt. Like, we should like buy yogurt. So we went to the store and we all bought like enough yogurt, like 2 of these huge packs. We put it all in the fridge and we were like prepared, And I had no idea what to expect. However, he, to some extent, from his perception and world, he did. This guy, blue eyes, the most like Dutch person ever. No judgment, but just a beautiful guy. Long blonde hair, like a surfer dude. Yeah, we put them in the yogurt and we ate it up, and we sat on the couch playing the old Mario Kart on like this Nintendo 98, I think, this blue box. And yeah, he just like he just kept on repeating, like, you guys have no idea what you're going to witness. Like he was just laughing, like he didn't want to like spoil any of the experience, which is so beautiful. But he said things like like you guys are not prepared. Like we were all just fooling around and like no idea what to expect. And we were looking at the TV screen, and suddenly, like, I think one of us, we were all like one at the time, like I'm just going like include like just the concept that we were all one, but our energies were all beautifully intertwining with one another. It was so beautifully orchestrated by the universe, and we just started like sharing our observations with one another, and the more that we did that, it enhanced what we were seeing. So when we were playing the Mario Kart, we started seeing like everything go in waves. Now the sounds went like strange, and everything just changed, Now, I don't want, as I said, I don't want to go too deep into the details, but beautiful colors, etc. Later on, and it really brought up the innocence and the child in everybody again, And for some, in some phases, like it's really waves that you're encountering of certain emotions, like just like any other medicine, like it provokes emotion, and it allows you the opportunity to look at it from a different lens, like a telescope, as Alan Watts says. Like you put on the microscope, and you can see things more clearly for what they really are, the very material, the very substance. We were just laughing and giggling, and it was just this funny experience together. And we all saw colors and whatever stuff, but thankfully we ended up stopping doing any of those things, and we just talked, and we weren't all really emotionally vulnerable at that time. So we did the best that we could, but we put on this music, and we would just stare at the screen. We would stare at one another, laugh at one another. And yeah, it came to this moment where, I kind of I was like, this is not good, guys. Like, we should be more quiet right now. Like, we should try and embrace the silence a little bit. So we did that. We sat on the ground, all of us. I've always just been a ground person. I prefer being on the floor. And I closed my eyes, and I had never ever meditated in my whole life before. I had never ever experienced anything like meditation or anything like that. I was just doing my thing my whole life, like just winging it. And I sat on the ground and I started to focus on the patterns that I was seeing. And I understood that what I was seeing was the very geometry of life, was the very geometry of certain energies magnified. Okay? So, this life right now, everything is energy, everything is consciousness. However, we are perceiving consciousness, and this very energy that is expressed has a structure to it, else it wouldn't contain its form. Just like this body holds a structure, a very sacred divine structure. And during these plant medicine trips, you are able to see these structures that hold creation together, especially like our very dense, all energies overlapping one another, messy, chaotic, third-dimensional experience. And I saw all these like beings, like snakes, and they were like turning with squares, kind of like an ayahuasca trip, and they were like going in one another, and they were forming all these strange fourth-dimensional shapes. I say fourth dimension because it's more intuitive than it is visual. Okay? When you do these things, like the people who aren't in touch with the other dimensions, they would just say, oh, it's just some funky visuals that you see, you know, like I'm tripping. Like, okay, I don't want to judge them. Maybe I just did, I'm sorry. It's just there's so much more to it that I've discovered in my own life. So I saw these snakes and I was just fascinated. Something happened within me at that moment when I finally got to see it. I opened my eyes to like, wow, there's a structure behind this. There's something profound that I've just never seen before, and I witnessed with my consciousness, but it's always apparently been there. And tears were rolling down my face as I was watching this beautiful experience of all these colors and these beings and these strange geometrical shapes. After a while, I astral projected for the first time. In that moment, I didn't say it this way. Now with experience, it was that way. But just imagine, you know, there's somebody who has never experienced a meditation in his life before, and suddenly he astral projects out of his body and he sees like the whole room and his body for the first time, you know. It was crazy, but I just didn't have any words to describe what was happening at the time. Like my soul, my consciousness was just blasted out of my body, you know. And I was looking at it from the perspective of a higher version of myself. So I looked down onto my body and I saw everybody there. Saw my body meditating there on the ground. And that's where this vision struck me. I saw myself with this beautiful red background of the sunset sky on like on the mountaintop meditating. Like I said, I never meditated in my life. I never thought I would, and at that moment I tapped into a future version of myself. And I never knew that meditation would be such a significant part of my life. And you can watch my videos on how I define meditation. But I saw myself meditating on top of this mountaintop with this profound vision. And at that moment I understood that that was me. That was a future event. I quickly understood that that was me. I was witnessing a future event of myself. And ever since that happened, I became more aware of like these visions, you know, of the future, of things that didn't even happen in the moment or before my past. We eventually went out and we went to look at the stars, and we were just playing like kids again. You know, we were making all these imaginary rules of like, you know, like, this is our territory and we are safe here in this bubble. But when you leave like there beyond the tiles, then you're like out of the zone, and that's dangerous, you know, like that's where they will get you. Like only when you are here inside of like this plot between these houses and these parking places, you are fine, you know. And we were like thinking of like, I think we even did like, we peed on the street just to like mark that this is like the fine line of like such beautiful human things, you know, that were just such a beautiful remembrance and expression of our ancestors, you know, of their wisdom that kept us safe. And like just your ancestors pour through when you are on these kind of substances. It's just beautiful, beautiful experience. There was a cat, and I felt so much love for animals, and my whole life I felt like that. But because I was connected to my child again, it felt like I was just on the same vibrational level as the cat. I was the cat. It was such a phenomenal experience. There's just no separation between you and other beings, and you look at all other beings with this complete compassion from a place of wholeness. Now, it's not always like that, you know, like these states, you have the will, the free will to a certain extent to alter your states depending on what you do, what you say, what you think, you know. Your frequency determines which thoughts you get and which emotions are provoked. So it is all in your control, you know. That's why, you know, we're all on this journey trying to understand the handbook to master this body. We went back inside, and I went talking together. We went in the backyard, and I just remember talking to my classmate, and we were never really very acquainted, you know, like it felt like I always wanted to come close, but he was quite avoidant towards me at times. We would connect, you know, I would like help him, like order some things, and yeah, I felt like, oh, I did something good for him and maybe we can be friends. But I think for him, like, he was always a little bit more like, yeah, like it, I can't speak for him, but that was my experience, you know. We really got to connect with one another, you know, and I just remember looking at his eyes and he looked at mine, and I just said to him, like, you are so beautiful. You are such a beautiful human. And I said, I really love you. I love you so much. And he looked at me with these eyes, and I think he even teared. He said for the first time to me, you know, we've been classmates for 2 years, he said, thank you. And he was just so surprised. And it really just set this beautiful tone between all of us. It was just this beautiful, warm experience filled with love. It's so calming. They were conversing with one another, and I was in this place of unconditional love, at least to a certain extent, that I was aware of within myself. I felt a little bit excluded to, you know, like the rampant things that were going on there. And at that moment I realized I need to choose myself right now. Just like a woman who grows up in this world, she needs strong boundaries to keep her heart open, you know. And I'm saying a woman because it's not easy to grow up in this world as a woman. And I called my friend, and he was gay, and I never had really strong emotional feelings for him, but there was definitely like a depth and a certain chemistry between us, but I never admitted that I was attracted to him, and until today I've never really had attraction to the same extent that I observe other men have towards men, labeled or preference to be gay. It was never a thing for me, but I always just wanted to be friends with him. But I called him at the time, and I just shared with him very vulnerably what I was going through. And he listened to me, you know, and he was just very curious. And he spoke English, and my classmates, they were all Dutch, you know, and they didn't really, they know how to speak English, obviously, but I noticed that they were all listening, and I was just having this conversation with him with my headphones on. It was just such a beautiful moment to remember that we all seek connection, and that we all want to be understood, and that's a big need. The biggest need for us is to have connection, and may everybody remember that you are never too needy to want to feel more emotionally connected and want to have intimate connections with people. There are many people who have tough upbringings and have been pained, who don't know how to regulate the feelings of certain emotions, and they will push other people away. and especially empaths or people who are more on a secure attachment style, they will fall prone to these tactics of these people who aren't necessarily very connected with their core and their need for emotional intimacy, as they're disconnected emotionally from themselves, not willing to reflect. They push others away, and it hurts a lot to be discarded, and especially if you think that you have such a beautiful connection, but then suddenly you're invisible. It's a big one. As you're on mushrooms, you're just in your heart, and you just understand that, well, all I seek is love in a moment, and I want to share my love with you. I want to receive love from you, and I will commit to this moment. So yeah, that was just the story of the first time. I just want to cut it off there. It was just incredibly beautiful, and it took me some time to integrate that experience. And I just want to jump in quickly to the second one. I did the next few times I did it on my own. I went to the center of Utrecht, which is in the center of the Netherlands, happens to be, and I went on my motorcycle, got the mushrooms, went home, and I just had this strong determination to carry on this conscious journey of being assisted alongside plant medicine more seriously, like just with myself, and to get to know myself. And I understood that, wow, I'm definitely more connected spiritually right now. That I never said it that way. I didn't have any of these terms, but I noticed that I was going into nature more. I was really enjoying just being with my own emotions and being enveloped by trees, and especially as someone who is highly sensitive and feels like so much emotions, finding solace there was just like coming home again. I got the mushrooms home. I was home alone at that time, and I sat on the couch, and I heard this insanely loud noise in my right ear, and I just sat. I didn't listen to music. I just sat, and I wanted to understand what it was, and it was excruciating loud. What was happening was there was an emotion, there was a certain pain that I was being confronted with. I gave myself conscious permission to confront it. And when that happened, and that mushrooms allow me to elevate to the highest state of consciousness that we are, okay? Mushrooms is here to show you who you are. You are of pure love and compassion. You are the awareness, the conscious awareness, the silence, the peace that is behind every word you utter, that is behind every sensation, that is behind every thought. It is just there, behind everything, and you can witness everything in your body. Your left side of your body now, your right side of your body now, the front side of your body, the rear side of your body. And it's when you go to that rear side of your body, you feel the sensations there. It intuitively sets you in this inward motion of tracing yourself back lovingly and gently to who you are. And that's exactly what mushrooms did, and wants to teach every one of us who have been so disconnected from our emotions, energy, and nature. I sat there, and like I said, I never really meditated before. That was the first time I consciously surrendered to a sensation, to an emotion. And when that happened, like, it got excruciatingly loud, and I just remember I was observing the ringing in my ear, in my body. Something shifted, and something just exploded, and I was, from Gene Key's perspective, within every shadow aspect of yourself, there lies the gift. And it takes time and patience and love, being awareness to watch this shadow aspect of yourself. And the more you watch it with love and compassion and give it love, it remembers again that it is the same as you. It remembers again that, wow, I am that same conscious awareness, and I am of love. And it's there it elevates to a higher vibration again, and that sets the tone for your external reality. And I was overwhelmed with this beautiful Siddhic bliss, ecstasy, love, compassion towards myself, connectedness, peace. I was just embedded in warmth for the first time in my life. And this wasn't really a very visual experience. These weren't even strong truffles like the first ones that I took. These were quite mellow ones that I wanted to just do on my own. And I was in my room and I was just dancing with my cat. Things that I barely ever do on my own. I just started to just express myself, and I listened to the body and I allowed the body, and from this higher perspective you can see your connectedness with your body as a whole and your body's desires. And your body's desire is always to find ways to not only let go of the garbage, but take in energy and express that and find that joy within the body itself. The body knows how to surrender and how to find peace. The body knows all of those things. It's so miraculously wise. I went out, it was like 11 p.m. and I went out towards the river, and it was like the sandbank, and I just danced there to Tom Petty music like for 1.5 hours, and I would lie down every now and then just looking at the stars and just completely in love with myself, and that's such a beautiful opportunity to have as someone who came from Aquarius quite people oriented, to now stepping into more Leo. Leo is really my North Node, so South Node Aquarius opposite, North Node is Leo. Leo is really being more independent and finding my own path and making life on the go, and a very unconventional path, so it was really required for me to come to myself in that way and find that joy within myself. For every Leo, wherever you have Leo in your chart, this is a very main characteristic, like be okay with your own solitude, embrace that. So yeah, that was my first mushroom experience, but I really needed that in that moment of my life, because it helped me so much to understand how to heal myself in ways that I never knew even existed. I had opened my eyes to, wow, there's this love inside of me. What I want to share here is, it showed me all these beautiful things, and there will always be this side of me that will continue to want to understand exactly what it was. But right now, I don't want to say I fully understand it, but I can definitely say that my life right now is almost a constant as to what the mushrooms had shown me. And many call this liberation, to remain in the knowing that you are the I am, you are the loving awareness behind everything of your experience, and to approach yourself with love, to be that love that you want to be. And the further that we enhance in our spiritual journey, and mushrooms really help me, we come to see that suffering is the greatest teacher and plays a very big role in understanding who we are. Suffering plays a very big role in remembering that we don't need to suffer, that there are different approaches to ourselves, and we decide how to do it. I've been, I wouldn't say struggling, I've been through a lot of struggle the past 1.5 years after my breakup with someone who I thought I'd marry. So it was a really big loss and grief over the past 1.5 years, and I'm still not completely healed from that, I guess, but who is? Always new levels, but just for my own personal journey, and this might differ for other people, it really depends on what you want to place your consciousness on, which route resonates most with your soul and what your soul came to explore. So for me, it's not the plant medicine. For me, it's I prefer to do it through meditation. That's how I find my truth in this right moment. Music for me is very big. This experience, these altered states of consciousness, and every plant has its own intention, its own frequency of wanting to be of service to us, the spirits. Everything is consciousness, a projection from the very consciousness, the source of consciousness that we are. I will leave this to another video. I will talk about the very specific role our guides play and what they all go through in helping us and how much they really love us. But the same goes for these plant spirits. I call them plant spirits because I don't think I will grasp that same experience ever. But I definitely feel that I've come to meet what it intended to show me within myself. May this plant, if you ever come in contact with it and consume it, may it help you the way it did for me, and help you remember that you are not the content of this experience, that you are the very giggly, joyful watcher behind it. Make sure you subscribe. And also, I have a new course called Meditative Living coming out very soon. The words already imply what it is about. Living a way where we are more in harmony with this underlying peace that we are. We will go through all the techniques. We will go through a lot of concepts that have personally saved my life from wanting to end it. From those times where I was just on my knees to God and utterly hopeless, in utter despair. Those rock bottoms, the amount of overwhelm is something that I don't want to wish anyone, and I hope that these tools can help you not only regulate, but come to understand these various aspects of ourselves and find ways to love them in this ever-going, eternal motion of life. Have a good one. Thank you for listening if you made it so far. Meditation is of means to come back to this subtlety within ourselves, where we can observe our patterns throughout our day, where meditation then becomes a way of living. It becomes a way and a state that we bring and carry within our day-to-day lives, and we inevitably live a life more aligned and in peace with this peaceful nature that is always the background experience and the truth, the fundamental being within ourselves that is not identified with any content of our experience that we continuously experience in our day-to-day lives. Meditation is of means to come back to rest, to compassionately and humbly allow ourselves to return to this place within ourselves, to return to the grace of our inner child, to return back to the innate grace that is within us. I have coached and helped many people to help them shatter their limiting beliefs, to help them transcend their fears, their limitations of actually being with their emotions, to actually regulate their nervous system and come back into a state of receiving the divine grace, connecting with the inner child that desperately wants to express, that desperately wants to establish itself in its love into the world, through whichever way you are capable of in this lifetime, and you chose to express in this lifetime. My course, Meditative Living, is coming out very soon, and you can now sign up for the pre-sale, which will provide you a 40% discount of the entire price. If you are not satisfied with this course, you will get a full 100% money refund, guaranteed. If you are someone who has been interested in living a more spiritual life, a more peaceful life, and want to know practical ways and tools how to actually love yourself, how to actually maneuver through life in a more peaceful and connected way with your inner being, and allow that spaciousness to be extended to everybody, your friends and your family, and basically every encounter that you have with anything that is here in this life to be loved. Come back to this practice, make it a routine, and make it a way of living again. I want to introduce you to meditative living. Meditative living is as of means to approach ourselves from a place of curiosity, from a place of understanding, so we can confront certain aspects of ourselves, so we can confront certain situations and circumstances that are beyond our control, that happen in our outer world, from a place of calm observation. No matter where you find yourself in your life right now, which circumstances present themselves that might be stressful, are holding you down, are difficult and challenging, you are in a place where you're desperate to learn how to let go. Letting go is an art and a quality that we need to bring into the rest of our lives to properly integrate and maneuver, learn from and move forward from possibly challenging lessons and circumstances that have presented themselves in our lives. Once we begin to awaken to the deeper realities of ourselves, we begin a purgatory process, as though letting go of all old, expired version of ourselves and let them die off. Whilst my time in sadness and heartbreak was beautiful, and I know that it's easy to say this on the other side, it felt like something beyond dying at times, something that I just don't want to touch. As though I'm placed in some laboratory room, flying without any tools, filled with these black, mysterious fumes I'm struggling to avoid, realizing that I'm the one who needs to clear it up, something which is hard to even see through and understand. However, I'm here to tell you that it does not have to be that way, as meditative living holds the exact tools and guided exploration sessions which I have gathered from years and years of meditating, trial and error, and finding ways to let go. These techniques are proven to help you maneuver even the toughest setbacks with grace. Yes, the thickest fumes can be enjoyed, and I am not kidding, because this is how I oftentimes experience these internal wars nowadays. Because the truth is, your body already knows how to do this. It's just that the how can be the challenge. Everything which appears to happen finds its roots from within our internal subconscious world, and even through the second day of meditative living, you will inevitably experience your outer world reflect this new sense of peace that you have become.